right. Hey, Shane, we're back at it.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. What movies have you been watching lately?
Oh, a bunch is,
Yeah, you a
and
bunch for Halloween, right?
yeah, not all of them good, but a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How
What's the
about you?
last? I haven't really watched them. I've been busy all this week.
Yeah,
Our
me too.
our store was getting ready for a grand reopening because we had renovations over the last few months, and we had the big grand opening. So I've been working quite a bit this week. So haven't had a chance to see anything.
Probably pretty tired out.
Not too bad today, but yeah, I was a little tired yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yourself, been pretty tired, I guess. You've been working quite a few. You've only had like one day off this week, I think.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, and that was the day I worked, so we didn't even have a chance to talk that day too
No.
much. Yeah. So what was the last good movie you saw, or the one that you'd like to talk about? What's the last kind of cool movie you saw?
Hmm. Um, let's see. The Belko experiment was
Oh, the
pretty good.
Belko. Oh yeah, what was that about?
A sort of battle royale in an office,
Mm-hmm.
and it was written by James Gunn.
Right.
I think it was an older script that they picked up and
Mm-hmm.
after he got popular.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah. It was
and
one
it
of
was
his earlier scripts or
yeah,
something.
I think so. And it was
Right.
directed by the director of the Wolf Creek movies.
Yeah. Who is that? Do you remember the name? No.
Uh mm,
Doesn't. If you don't know, it doesn't matter. We can always
yeah.
look it up. But yeah, he did the Wolf Creek movies. I haven't seen those ones, but I heard they were good. Those are the ones that were filmed in Australia, were they? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I haven't seen them. I own both of them, but I've never sat down and
yeah,
watched.
right. I was just looking through my DVDs today. I got so many Blu-rays that I haven't even cracked the seal on. It's
Yeah, same.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I got so many of them. I'm having to find the right one is kind of hard. I was actually looking for Q the Winged Serpent today. I have two versions. I've got the Blu-ray from, I think it's Scream Factory, and then
Yeah.
I also have another one from a Japanese version. The reason I ordered that one from Japan is because it's also in English or with Japanese subtitles, but it has a lot of extra features that aren't on the American disc.
Oh,
Um,
really?
it has a lot of features on the special, like the special effects, especially because
Oh.
it has a lot of stop motion. I think from some pretty famous stop motion animators like I think maybe Phil Tippet. I don't know if Phil Tippet worked on it, but Dave Allen worked on it for
Oh,
sure.
wow.
I think Phil Tippet as well on some scenes. So the stop motion was really like, kind of hyped for this, and it
Oh,
was
nice.
I guess it was made in '82, so I
Yeah.
guess it's about the same time as Clash of the Titans, but kind of like the last hurrah of stop motion
Yeah.
in film. Really, there wasn't that much stop motion after that point. So I haven't actually watched the special features yet, but I heard they're really good. So I'm excited I'm gonna maybe watch that tonight. And I was planning on, and actually I think it's Dave Allen, the stop motion, his birthday today. He died a few
Oh,
years ago, but it's his
yeah.
birthday today. So that's kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
I was planning on watching that disc tonight because I just was my brother actually said I was talking to him about Moonscraper. He goes, yeah, he just heard. I got a movie that sounds like exactly like Moonscraper, and he goes, I go, what's that? He goes, Q the Winged Serpent. Oh yeah, I go, yeah. Actually, I was kind of inspired by that. It basically Moonscraper is the combination of three '80s movies. It's Q the Winged Serpent, Wolfen, and Predator 2, which I guess is a
Oh, yeah.
1990 movie. But those
Yeah.
three movies kind of are the genesis for my original conception of my Moonscraper story idea. Um, and with maybe a little bit of Kolchak the Night Stalker mixed in, like
Yeah.
a little bit of Bad Medicine, or a couple of the ones that take place in high rises or skyscrapers.
Yeah.
A couple of a bit of that. But those basically three or four things are what are the genesis of, without those things, this Moonscraper idea wouldn't come about. But I came up with the idea for Moonscraper back in the like 90s, like when I was working at A&B Sound. I actually sketched some ideas out, but then it kind of lay dormant for many, many years. I didn't think about it for a while until I kind of I started looking at my old ideas. Like, that's actually a cool concept. So yeah, but I had the idea back then of, it was basically going to be like an investigator, like a news reporter, like Kolchak, or a police investigator, detective, finding out there's missing people going missing in a big city. And there's a skyscraper idea, and this idea of the creatures that could get in anywhere. They'd have these claws that were made of diamond like material, so they could cut through glass and steel pretty easy by cutting a circle and taking it out and getting in anywhere. That was an original idea that I had back then. So those things have remained consistent. But I came up with different protagonists later, like quite a few years later. I came up with the idea of female construction worker. That's the main, kind of like, like Ripley, a little bit like Ripley.
Yeah.
So I thought, and that gave me a lot more idea, because the idea was that it was to do with the moon. It had a big important part of it, and the moon is kind of like a female symbol, feminine symbol.
Oh yeah.
And all, the Menzies and the kind of monthly cycles and everything like that. It all plays a role in the story, so it made more sense.
How'd you come up with the crane? How'd you come up with the crane operator backstory?
Like, what do you mean? Like you mean Lotho, the holdouts guy? Him?
Yeah, that they would be crane operators, the characters.
Well, I came up with the idea when I was living in Victoria, which is kind of the biggest city on the island, Vancouver Island. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of construction going on at the time. So I'd always walk the streets looking up at these big construction cranes building buildings, towers or whatever. They're doing a lot of construction. And I always thought it'd be great to have a movie where like a climax took place on top of one of these big giant cranes and stuff swinging around. So that was kind of the reason I thought about it. I worked with the skyscraper. So I was really obsessed for a while. I was obsessed with trains for a while, that I'd be thinking about them all the time. So I was like, I'm kind of obsessed with it. I'm not that level of obsessed anymore, but I still think it's a cool idea that hasn't been explored too much in filmmaking. Like I say, a bit in James Bond, there's a bit of a crane parkour scene.
Yeah.
And then you showed me that thing in Spider-Man, that scene where they're flipping, but they haven't been exploited, that not to the same degree that I was thinking of really setting a whole set piece, like a long set piece there at night on top of this thing. And it's quite detailed and a lot more complex than those ones were. And also it's more integral to the story, idea of the story, because the whole idea is the building is being constructed, it's going higher and higher and higher. That's the whole point of the story. That's one of the main themes, is things keep getting, taller and higher, and everybody's striving or aiming to go as high as they can. That's kind of one of the overarching themes of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's part of like with your main character, isn't it? That
right.
Trying to rise.
Right, every time you get out of rise from their state, rise to a higher position or whatever, to keep climbing higher. I think one of the, there's a jewelry merchant who is in a store called Aspire.
Yeah,
and that's kind of, everybody's aspiring to something greater. It's kind of like one of those themes of the story, and Aspire itself is on top of the skyscraper, so like an actual spire is a whole thing. So it all ties together, and so, it's the story idea I've probably put the most amount of mental work into over time. I've thought about it so much that I think it's the most I've ever. I don't think it's as much research as I've done on other ones, but it's the most amount of like coming up with cooler ideas after cooler ideas and building on old ideas. And It's
Yeah.
probably the one that feels the most complete, or
Yeah.
most fully fleshed out and figured out. So I'm
Um,
excited to continue on that.
so, is it any particular city?
Yeah, New York
You,
City.
you're saying New York?
Yeah, I mean, it could be in other big cities, but I've kind of figured it out just because there's like a,
Diamond District, and
yeah,
I know.
the Diamond District is there, and it just suit because New York is kind of like the place you want to go if you want to become big. It seems like it's a New York sets. It just seems like that's the place. You know, if you want to go as high as you can, kind of New York's
Yeah.
the city you got to be in to make that step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what influences do you see from Q and the other movies
Uh,
you made?
the other movies I mentioned, I like. Well, from
Wolfen,
Q, I
Predator.
haven't actually watched Q in a long time, but I know there's like it takes place. I mean, I think it's in a Chrysler building, so it is kind of like a skyscraper that
Yeah.
the creature hides in, which is similar to mine. Also, there's like diamonds that I think diamond heist that I think
Oh yeah.
Michael Moriarty steals. Like he tries to keep it a secret because it's a perfect place to stash their diamonds.
Oh yeah, that's right. I
So that's
forgot
kind
about.
of an influence too, which I told you I don't think I forgot about until I saw the clips of it later. Go, actually, it seems like it's a big chunk of. I mean,
Yeah.
so there, as I say, there is a lot of influence, and then the abductions of people from rooftops or penthouses,
Yeah.
and there's that pool scene which I showed you where he snatches somebody out of a rooftop pool.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. I totally forgot about that scene, but I kind of wrote one somewhat similar to that.
Yeah. Wasn't there was there a detective that kept
Yeah, I think
harassing
David Carradine plays that character with Richard Roundtree. I think they're two detectives trying to
Yeah.
find, and Michael Moriarty plays like the kind of like a loser guy who's like a diamond thief. I think he
Yeah.
finds some diamonds that were stolen, and then he
Yeah.
stashes them up in the Chrysler building.
Yeah, he's like a schlubby, like criminal
Yeah,
character.
yeah, but he's pretty. I saw some clips of him, and he's got some great lines and stuff. Crazy like acting tour de force kind of. But I saw
Yeah.
one where he leads. I guess there's some gangsters, some mafia kind of the mob is after him because I think he stole their diamonds.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for it. He goes, oh, they're up in the top of the Chrysler building. That's where he keeps it. And so they go up there and they get munched on by Q, the Winged Serpent. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I didn't kill them. I didn't do it. They did it of their own free will when they went up there. It's like kind of
Yeah.
justifying it to himself, but he's like, they're
Yeah.
like,
I seem to remember a lot of characters giving him a hard time in that movie.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty. But I don't have any gangsters in mind. Mine there is like the only say like the diamonds in mine are like the diamond like spikes that come out of the creature's flesh as a defense mechanism, and they're like gems themselves.
Yeah.
They're like sharp. They're like diamond spikes, but they're like it's like a byproduct of them getting wounded and stuff. So it's kind of in like my main character Celine's best interest to like injure them and like fight them but not kill them, so she can have a steady supply of these diamonds to trade to the jewel merchant to get money from.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship a little bit. It's kind of, she wants to keep them alive. She's like, I guess she's like a parasite a little bit because she's feeding off their kind of like their bling blood as it were. Yeah.
Is there any Adam Sandler character in there, like Uncut Gems?
It was actually inspired a bit by like the idea of the district. I was reading quite a bit about Uncut Gems before it came out. So no, there's not. There's a jeweler. He's like an old Jewish jeweler, but he's like an old guy. Like he's probably in his 70s or whatever. He's like an old. I mean, so he's not really like Adam Sandler, but he is like, he wants to. His whole goal is to become a jet setter like his son, I think,
Yeah.
or his grandson or something. His grandson is like traveling around to Antwerp and all these like places in Europe, to all these different diamond districts to to trade the gems, and he wants to go with them, but they kind of leave him at home, leave him to mind the store, and he wants to go jet setting around the world like with them. So it's kind of he's like a funny character, a funny old character who's like, and Celine is trying to hook up with his grandson.
Oh,
I think she knew him like quite a few years ago when they were younger, but his grandson wants nothing to do with her. He's like, he rejects her outright. So he kind of bond she forms is with the grandfather, the jeweler, and they kind of have a relation, not a romantic relation, but they just have a kind of a friendship, a friendly relationship.
yeah.
And in contrast to the romantic one she was trying to start with his grandson. So yeah, it's just the ideas. I'm still working all that out. I say there's so many things happening in the story. I don't know if I can make it under 200 pages. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I'm
Um,
on page 60 now, but there's so much more to happen.
oh wow.
Yeah.
I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Do you still have the that boyfriend character of the woman that gets killed in there?
Yes,
Like
I do. That's in there too still. Yeah. Yeah, he's like on a I'm trying to find ways, because they're like almost like two stories happening at the same time. Like
Yeah.
his investigation was kind of trying to find out the backstory of him. I don't know how necessary he is anymore, but I think it is kind of, I have ways of like tying them together. It's like there's a cat that runs through the story that was originally his girlfriend, or his. It's funny because he's like a white knight kind of guy. Like he met this opera singer girl through a dating app, and they chatted online a few times but never met. So for their first meeting, he's going to meet her. She gets abducted by these scrapers, right?
Before
So he
they
goes
meet?
there. What's that?
Before they meet?
Yeah, before they
Before he
meet,
gets there?
he's
Like
gonna meet her that night, and before he gets there, she's abducted. She goes out on the balcony, or she comes in there. So he's obsessed with trying to track her down. He kind of calls her his girlfriend, but they've actually never met. So he's totally idealizes her.
Yeah.
So he's like she's like the shining star that he never got to meet. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting dynamic. So he's like obsessed, and he like takes her cat, but he doesn't know, because her cat was the only thing that survived or was remained behind.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he doesn't know what to call the cat, because she always called it shithead. And he goes, I can't call you shithead, because she always referred to it as shithead over text. So he doesn't know what to call her. So he kind of comes up, he calls it like Sir Excelsior or something, because he's like he has these like he's like, she's like his, what do you call it, the prince, the lady, that the knight always like
Oh, yeah.
fights for it. He kind of sees himself as a knight, and her as this lady that he kind of, so it's very romantic, but kind of like very idealized and not very realistic. So he's like, he calls the cat Sir Excelsior, and he takes him, and then he ties a thread. He goes and finds a super strong upholstery thread that he ties to the cat to see if, because the cat would see if the cat would like lead him to where she was, which is kind of like a giallo kind of
very
Argento feel, because that kind of the animal as detective is kind of like a giallo type device.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I kind of had him kind of like the flies or the insects in Phenomena, kind of a little bit, a little bit like that.
And the monkey,
so he's
too.
And what's that?
There's that monkey.
Right. So there's kind of a detective animal. So he lets the cat go walking at night, and then he lets it go ahead, and then he follows behind on the thread, because the thread shouldn't break. It's really strong upholstery thread.
Yeah.
But so he follows behind it, and then if suddenly he doesn't see the cat anymore, but the thread, it goes up under this bicycle rack, and then it goes straight up vertical, like as high as he can see. So he's like, what the heck? So something's way up there. So he basically tries to track the thread down to see where the cat went, and that kind of leads him to the top of the skyscraper later on.
Yeah, I can see why like you'd want to keep that, because it's a very interesting
in
and of itself.
Yeah.
But you've got a few ideas how to tie it together.
Yeah, basically, I think Tycho, that he's the homeless guy that lives in the alley on the street. I think he has some connection between all of them and kind of ties them together. So I don't know. I still got to work it out. I still got to probably a lot of loose ends I got to figure out, but I've got an idea how it can work together. And I'm usually good at linking things together, making things make sense.
Yeah.
Once I have all these different ideas, I'm pretty good at connecting things together in stories. So we'll see how that goes.
It just made me think of a movie I watched earlier this week.
Yeah.
Kind of this sleazy 80s sci-fi horror movie set in New York called Breeders.
Breeders? I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's very low budget. It's like aliens possess people, and then they impregnate women, and
right.
And there's like I think like an archaeological site under the Empire State Building.
Oh yeah, it's kind of similar to this side.
Where the aliens like possess people, and then they go out and capture women and impregnate them.
Right.
It's very, very cheesy. Very 80s.
It reminds me a little bit of Humanoids from the Deep a bit.
Oh yeah, very. It's got that same kind of questionable, kind of rapey thing to it.
Right, because all the creatures are out impregnating the women, to breed with them.
And there's a lot of like transformation effects, because the aliens like kind of pop out of the people before they attack the women.
Oh yeah.
But it reminds me of like that New York kind of thing, like Chud too.
Right, yeah, coming out, and then attacking people. Yeah, mine doesn't have. Yeah, it's interesting.
But yours are up in the sky instead of under the city.
Yeah, that's right. They're up in the sky, kind of, which I thought would be. That's one reason it takes place at night, because I wanted well, there's a lot of reasons. That one thing I didn't like about Q, the Winged Serpent, was it takes place in daylight.
Yeah.
And so how could you miss seeing this giant winged lizard flying around like in the middle of the day? Like it's pretty obvious.
Like
but also I think but I guess cell phones and everything is pointing up there. But I guess the way they show is that I think Q, the Winged Serpent, would hide in the sun, like it would kind of fly up, and so you could only see you couldn't see it very well until it attacked you.
Yeah, that seems very familiar, like that aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was kind of like a sun god or something like that, like an Aztec sun god. So it would kind of use the sun as its kind of a hiding way, because you couldn't see it because it was the glare of the sun would blind you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a cool idea. But mine is more, instead of the sun, it's more the moon. So these things they hide up in the skyscraper, and they come out at night, and they fly in packs. And they're also very quiet. Like they don't communicate. They have silent barks that are like ultrasonic frequencies. So you can't hear them. They got like big wolfy kind of bat ears.
Yeah.
So they bark. They can hear each other, but you can't hear them.
Yeah.
That's how they communicate. But it's how mine is. But yeah, but so so you saw Breeders, and that was okay. It was pretty fun, or was it kind of a creepy?
Yeah, it's very of its time.
When was it released? 82 or something?
Yeah, early 80s, I believe.
81 maybe.
And, and like one of the scenes involves like there's like a photo shoot, like where they're shooting it pictures of
Hmm.
this bikini model, and like she stays behind when they go out to get something to eat and
Hmm.
snorts cocaine and then does like nude aerobics.
Yeah.
And then like the photographer guy comes back to get his wallet, and then he's like possessed by an alien and he attacks her.
Right.
But there's this whole thing later that like when the detective is investigating the attack, the photographer's coworker says, "Well, he lived with his mother," and
Yeah.
the detective's like, "Lived with his mother," and he's like, "He was gay." It's like such a like
Yeah.
nowadays it's like having a gay character is nothing, but back then they
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Had a big
had
thing.
to have
Yeah.
a big. It was a big stereotype, like
Right. Yeah. It's pretty funny. It's pretty crazy. He lived with his mother. It means he's gay. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
And there's
I
another,
was. Was that?
and there was another scene where with like a woman comes home and then like a guy bursts in like he's going to molest her, and then the alien comes in and kills him, and
Hmm.
and
Oh, I
it's
see.
like he's very much like a like so the type of punk you'd see in a Death Wish movie.
Right. 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 Yeah. I guess it kind of a little bit reminds me of like there's a couple movies I always get mixed up. I think the Borrower,
Oh yeah,
the Borrower, and also what's the one? Oh, The Hidden. I always get those two
oh
movies mixed up for some reason.
yeah. Well, they're similar with the alien possessing like
Right,
bodies.
right.
I haven't seen either one of those in a long time.
I've never seen them, but I've seen, I kind of want to. I've read lots of stuff, but one of them has Kyle MacLachlan in it.
Yeah,
I
the
think
hidden.
the Hidden. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I was thinking also like you're saying back in the early '80s of like the Breeders was made in the early '80s. I guess another movie that inspired Moonscraper, my story, was made '81 is Wolfen,
yeah,
and Wolfen has quite a bit that's influenced because they have some native indigenous people that work on the high
oh yeah,
steel on the skyscrapers,
yeah,
and they kind of have they have like a shape shifting wolf type. There's a feel like a werewolf type idea, not really 100% because the
yeah,
Wolfen are like a race of wolf or a race of beings that are kind of like hyper intelligent wolves. It
yeah,
there's some implication that maybe they can shapeshift into humans, but not you don't really know for sure. They never show it.
yeah.
They never show a transformation.
No, yeah,
That'd be
they
too
just
expensive. But they kind of hint at it a little bit.
yeah they have that scene with the beach and on the beach and stuff
Right. Right.
with James Olmos.
Right.
But yeah, in the book it was very clear cut that they were a separate race.
Right. Yeah. Which kind of brings kind of Moonscraper. These scrapers are kind of like a separate race. They're kind of like a
Yeah,
creature that
that
aren't.
lives alongside of us,
Yeah.
like
These
a
ones kind.
human
Yeah.
race.
Yeah. But these ones are kind of like have been hidden, like they get encased in rock, and they get kind of they get hidden away from the races for or the have been hidden away from people's history for a long time. So the only way they find them is that in that the In Search of type video, which I kind of wrote that
Oh
scene,
yeah,
which is fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
So is your idea that they've been there all this time, or have they been in hibernation?
Yeah, hibernate, kind of like hibernation, like suspended animation, I guess, almost.
Yeah,
So like they've been encased in like these geode like rocks that have been buried and stuff. So
mm,
they when they unearth them, like that archaeological dig you're talking about in Breeders, then they that's when they come out.
yeah,
They kind of break out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool mythology that you're
Yeah.
working for
Yeah.
for the
Working
mind.
on it. Yeah. I'm just gonna stop and then we'll begin.
Okay.
Okay, it's met.
Okay.
Okay, we're back.
Cool.
And you're just saying, what were you saying about something that inspired Moonscraper or something?
About Wolfen.
Oh yeah, Wolfen, right. So
about another race living alongside
right.
humanity.
Yeah, these ones are, well, those ones, the thing I liked about Wolfen is it was taking place in the 80s when early 80s when New York was kind of in a dilapidated state. Like there was they had lots of abandoned buildings they could hide in and live in.
Yeah.
Modern day New York, they kind of got rid of all that stuff. It's all really a lot of modern, like refurb. Everything's like rebuilt and new and modern and everything nowadays. So you can't redo that same thing again where everything is like.
No, that's why I think it works better that they're up in the air.
Right, yeah. And people don't really look up that much. So much happening down the street level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they might not notice things up above them, especially if they don't make a lot of noise.
Yeah. I was just thinking that if you wanted to, you could actually make a novel of it too.
Oh, I see. Like if it gets too long or too big for a script, I could write it as a novel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually thought about that a little bit. I mean, I could expand a lot more on stuff.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting.
In the Wolfen novel, like there's chapters from their perspective.
Oh yeah. That'd be interesting to do.
Because they had their own language and
really
everything that you experience like in the book.
Yeah, I've never read the book. Was the language kind of translated to English or something, or how'd that work?
Yeah, it was. I can't remember because it's been a long time. They might have been telepathic.
Telepathic, sure. To each other, you mean, or to humans?
Yeah, to each other.
Right.
And there's like elders and they had rankings, but everything.
You said rankings, yeah.
Yeah, like in their society, like
right.
And there was I think those chapters were written in maybe like in a different font than the regular
thing
to give you an idea of what the but I know most of the story in the book like when they kill is like it's the same, like in the movie how they kill like the homeless and that survive, and in the book like they screw up and when they kill that millionaire at the beginning and stuff, that was a mistake, and then they spend part of the book trying to like cover their tracks that so they're not discovered. I remember I think there's a scene where they kill the coroner because he goes back to the crime scene because he's found like something odd that points towards them, so they end up killing him. And then that's where the police get more invested in the investigation when like more people start getting killed. And then the climax is a standoff in one of the cops' apartment buildings, I think. And they surround the building because they're trying to kill off, like I said, everybody that knew about him.
And that's in the book, he's saying.
Yeah. And
in the movie it's in a church, isn't it, right, or something?
Yeah, they're living in a dilapidated church. And it's more about what they killed the guy because of they're building on their land, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And
but I think I think a bit of it is trying to keep hidden. They want to stay hidden, though, I think.
Yeah.
And they want to live unnoticed among people. They kind of live in the shadows.
Yeah.
In the dilapidated and kind of run down parts of town where they won't go noticed.
Yeah. And there's a bit in the book too. There's a character similar to Tom Noonan's character in the movie.
Yeah.
And he starts to learn their language, I guess.
Oh, really?
And during the climax, he tries to communicate with them, but it really doesn't go that well.
Oh, no.
But the book kind of ends with some of them getting killed when they attack the apartment building. So
right.
They end up fleeing, but now there's like concrete proof that they exist. So you're not really sure what'll happen to them.
Right.
Because now they have bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Was there ever a sequel to that book? I don't think there was.
Not that it definitely sets up for one. Like
right. Yeah, but there was a sequel, and that was, I think that book was written in like the late 70s, right? Like 76 or 70, something like that.
I believe
77.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Very late 70s, I think.
And that was that Whitley Strieber's first book?
That's a good question. I don't know if he wrote that or The Hunger.
Oh yeah.
First, I'm not sure.
Maybe The Hunger first, then.
And then they wrote Communion. I'm not sure when that was.
Yeah, that was like mid 80s, I think, 84 maybe, or 85 for the Communion. I think.
Yeah. But Wolfen, it had to have been like in the 70s, because the movie is early 80s, isn't it?
Yeah, 81, I think.
81, yeah. I was always kind of disappointed that the Wolfen in the movie were just wolves.
Yeah.
Because they're more werewolf-like in the way they look in the book.
Yeah. And also that was the age of the werewolves, where they had American Werewolf in London and The Howling and all these werewolf transformation movies back then.
Yeah.
With the air bladder effects.
Yeah.
That just became, the technology just arrived at that time.
Yeah.
But it'd be a little bit different. It wouldn't really fit this movie that much. Or that they have the effect that they use is the solarization. So every time you see from the Wolfen's point of view, it's in that kind of really that kind of angry red planet kind of look, if you remember that solarization look, which I don't really like. I find it distracting and not. I mean, it's kind of like supposed to be like infrared, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not quite infrared.
Yeah. I do like the use of their POV shots in there, but the technique is distracting.
Mm-hmm. But you can't really see what's going on too well. You think it would make things they make things clearer because they see better than humans, right? What's the poster? They can see you in the moonlight. They can tear the breath from your throat or something. I forget the tagline for the poster. They can hear your heart. They can hear your heart beating or something. Yeah, so they're supposed to have super acute kind of senses, so they should be able to see things a lot better than just a silly solarization technique.
Yeah. The movie's definitely grown on me.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Well, I love the act. I mean, I love Albert Finney. I love Tom Noonan. And then even
Gregory Hines.
Yeah, Gregory Hines is pretty good in it too. He's pretty interesting character in there.
Yeah. And I know the movie has that whole like subplot with like is it some kind of security company or whatever? They have those cameras all over the place and
surveillance.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about that, but I do remember that was part of it.
Because they thought terrorists were like killing the people.
Yeah. So mine has a bit of that high and low, kind of rich versus poor in my story too. But in mine, it's like no matter who you are, no matter how, say, high in society you get, you're still not safe from these scrapers, because they can fly up to any penthouse or any high level thing and scrape and scratch their way into your window or your steel and reinforced door. They can get through it because they have this diamond sharp claws. They can cut their way in, and so.
Yeah, I could definitely see that working as a movie and a book. It has that 80s monster vibe to it.
But it's very visual for sure. So I can see it working as a movie, but yeah, it could work as a novel too. I could see it being kind of even maybe more interesting as a novel because you could expand on things a lot more.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure if you thought about doing like maybe a mini series out of it. I know another script you're working on is made for to be a mini series.
Right. Yeah, I haven't really thought about. I think this thing is pretty self-contained. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it might be too much to stretch it.
I'll see how long it goes for. If it ends up being really long, I guess I'll have to think about what to do with it. But I mean, I want it to be like a movie. We'll see how it happens. I pictured it as a movie.
Yeah.
So I'll see how it happens. I mean, it's so visual and there's so many set pieces in it that just look so cool on the screen.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I could see them flying around with the moon, like backed by the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, there's scenes where they're flying through like the canyons of the sky of New York City buildings, like flying through the canyons, being chased by a police helicopter, or I think the police helicopter is being chased by them, and they're like trying to fly after it, and they got someone in there. So it's kind of like I can see that happen. I can see it being done with models and puppets and things.
Oh yeah,
that'd be so cool to see. I mean, it would be very hard to pull off, but
I see that image from the 70s Kong too, where he just looks up at the Twin Towers and he sees Skull Island.
Right, sees like the mountain or the hill, the mountain where he calls Skull Island's mountain.
Yeah,
with like the full moon above it.
Yeah,
I'm sure that had an effect on me. I was like that had a big impact on my way I saw movies back then. I saw that as a kid, and it had a big impact.
Because I can when you say they're flying through the buildings, I can see it from their point of view. It's just more mountains or wherever they work.
Right.
That's definitely that helicopter. That's definitely a great visual thing with them chasing a helicopter.
Yeah. So I mean, I've got some idea. I mean, I got a lot of visual things I've been working. I have the thoughts in my head for a long time. So I definitely I have to finish. I'm excited to finish it though. I still have the excitement to work on it, which is good.
Yeah.
Because it's a long in gestation project.
Have you still been working on the bar scene, or?
I worked a little bit on that. I'm working on a scene where when Lotho, the crane operator, when he leaves the bar and heads up kind of with a tail between his legs, and he heads up to the crane, that's where he finds the cat that escaped with the thread all tangled up on it.
Oh,
and he kind of adopts it and gives it its own name, because no one knows the name of this cat, so they keep on renaming it over and over again. It's like kind of an ongoing continuing gag in the script.
Yeah.
So he names it like Lofty or Lofty Perch because he finds it's so high up on the girders there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of working on that.
I wonder.
Yeah. So yeah. What's that? What were you saying?
Oh, I said I wonder. I wonder what the how the monsters would look like. I can see them as practical effects, but they'd probably want to do them as computer rendered.
Right. Well, I think there'd probably be a different one for different scenes. I could definitely see the wings being digital, even if it was a costume or something for some parts of it.
Yeah.
I kind of looked at a lot of the werewolf things from a Cabin in the Woods.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that had a look to it because the legs on the werewolf in that movie looked were skinnier than a human. So I wonder how they did it. What they did was they put the humans wearing like green leotards on their legs, so green leggings they could paint out, and then they had these like almost like puppeted or like little legs that stuck to their feet in front, so that when you bent your leg, so it was a pretty cool trick around that. There's always like cool ideas that I saw that'd be cool to use.
Yeah.
So there's some cool things. So it doesn't look exactly human.
Yeah.
It's almost like the human is the puppeteer that's wearing this werewolf kind of puppet in front of it in a way. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Combination of like costume and puppet, which I think is a neat idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see some of it being, I don't know, not really stop motion, but puppets, like just like a puppet that has the parts that could be green screened out, and like a combination of digital compositing, and then and then a lot of practical though, because I could see all the crane shots being shot on a stage, like a crane that maybe this crane would be stationary, but the camera would move around it, or vice versa. I don't know.
Now,
with like mats underneath.
Yeah, like very old school kind of.
Yeah.
Look to them.
Yeah.
Now, I was just thinking, you mentioned American Werewolf in London before.
Right.
Was the full werewolf, was that a guy in a costume, or was that when it was running around, or was that like a puppet and a guy in a costume?
I think it was a bit of both, maybe, because I remember when it's crawling up the escalator.
Yeah.
When it appears at the bottom there.
Yeah.
I think that was a puppet. I think it was a puppet because it was on the front of, I think I remember seeing it was on the front of this like trolley that had wheels, and it had this front part that was being manipulated, I think, by puppeteers.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think it was a guy in a costume, but in that particular shot anyway, that's a classic kind of scene there.
Yeah.
Classic shot. So I think it was, but it was a combination, because there's obviously the ones where he's like,
running
makeup effects. Yeah.
And that's another design that's grown on me over the years. I
never liked it. I always thought it was really freaky looking when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was more like the Rob Bottin werewolves and the Howling.
Right.
I like those better, but I've come around to like when werewolf transformation, you like turns into like maybe a large size kind of wolf.
Yeah.
Like American Werewolf.
Yeah.
Instead of like a man type.
Right. Yeah, really, I think I preferred the American Werewolf one more. Yeah. I guess that's Rick Baker. But I mean, I love Rob Bottin's effects as well, but
yeah,
I preferred that one more, I think.
Yeah.
And I thought the transformation scenes were so awesome. Like they really got that of how much the agony and the transformation. Because in the past it would just be like stop motion of them like adding bits of fur to the and you just thought, to his face. It's like, well, it's just like a transformation, but nothing much, But this shows how it's like body changing and how it's transforming would actually be quite painful and agonizing as you're changing from one form into another, right? So that was really well done.
Yeah, that would be like you said, your whole body's transforming.
Right. So that was really effective. That was a pretty effective way of doing that. So that was really impressive. But yeah, there's no real transformations in my story. I don't think it's
no,
nothing like that really.
But is there like a scene where you see one of them created, like born or anything like that?
I haven't really thought about that really, because they're already they kind of are already formed in these, like they kind of are encased in these like giant geodes, like kind of rock that has that crystalline formation inside, that they have a hollow crystal inside that you can fit in. So they kind of break out of that. So that's kind of, I don't know if they're really born in that, but I was thinking of having some sort of showing how they're created sometime, but maybe using the female construction workers as hosts, but that's more like aliens. I haven't really thought about that too much. If it is, it would just be touched on. It wouldn't go into it wouldn't show it in grisly detail or anything. It would just it would just show them maybe trying to reproduce it. I don't know. I haven't really thought that 100% through yet. I'll see how that goes. But
now, like for your in your mind, in your backstory for this, is are they the only surviving ones, or do you picture other ones in other parts of the world?
Good question. I haven't really given it much thought. I just thought of these ones. It kind of makes sense. These are the last ones because a lot of like so, I mean, I guess I could picture these as kind of like the last of their kind. They're trying to survive or whatever, or try to continue on.
Yeah.
So I guess so. I mean, I haven't really thought about it too much, but if push came to shove, I'd probably say they're among the last of the kind. As because Lotho, the crane operator, his name is like an acronym for last of the holdouts. Or last of the holdovers. So it's kind of like this idea of the last man standing, the last remaining, veterans. So that's kind of the idea there. And I was trying to think of what actors could play him. I was like, I was thinking maybe was it just any grizzled old kind of like actor, kind of like who are some of them,
like Sam Elliott or
Sam Elliott or what's that?
Scott Glenn.
Yeah, Scott Glenn, one of those kind of guys. I mean, even who's the guy from Aliens? Was it Bishop? Who's that again?
Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, Lance Henriksen. I guess he's pretty old. He's really old right now. I mean, he's pretty old. But I mean, those type of guys, grizzled old guys, or I guess even Jeff Bridges now. I guess he's pretty old.
Yeah.
But one of those kind of guys that are kind of like
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, Dennis. Yeah.
Or even a Kevin Costner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of these old kind of grizzled actors that can play the veteran, like the old school guy.
Or you could even have like Michael Biehn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess some of these old guys. But I guess the whole idea is that they're supposed to retire, and the backstory for this guy, I've been coming up with new ideas. I never had much of an idea like who this Lotho character was, other than he was last man standing. But one of the ideas is in his cab. He has a collage of like all these old actresses, like golden age era actresses, like
really.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a constellation of ageless stars, like like you can think of all those people, like Ava Gardner and Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe and all.
Yeah.
What's that?
Katharine Hepburn and
all those old together stars. So he sees them as like a constellation, like they're living on like how the Greeks would put heroes and gods in the stars.
Oh, yeah.
They'd see them in the constellations. Well, these are kind of like new stars, and he wants to kind of join. He wants to be remembered. So that's his aspiration. Like I said, everybody's trying to get higher. He wants to become a constellation in the heavens.
Yeah.
And he'd be like the pillar that holds up the arches of heaven or something. That's kind of his idea. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been writing lately. Just some of my monologues that he'd be talking to the cat while he's untangling the cat from its thread while he's in the cab, and just before he's attacked by the scrapers, right? So
yeah. Was there something about the constellations in Clash of the Titans? I can't remember.
I think so. I forget. Was it Pegasus or something, or the Medusa's head that gets thrown up? I forget. But there was like something like that. They would made like maybe it was like maybe, I don't know, is Andromeda, because that's a star name as well, or I think it's a
Yeah, it might
constellation.
have been.
And
I
then
seem to remember,
Perseus or Perseus and
yeah,
Pegasus.
I seem to remember at the end maybe where they named the constellations after him
Right.
at the end of Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, I think it could be something like that. I know maybe it had an effect too, but yes, constellations. I mean, that's kind of memorializes whatever these kind of figures. So I got to come up with a good monologue that kind of explains that while he's talking to his cat. He's like saying, "Would you look up into the sky and look for me up there?" And of course, the cat will probably die long before he does, just because it's the lifespan. But it's whatever. It's just
it makes sense though that he'd be looking up at the stars because he spent so much time high up.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Above the lights and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, I put lots of thought into it. So it's the fun part. It's the fun part though. Because you keep building these things out, making it more richly, more textured, all these different strands coming together, and hopefully I can pull it off. But
have you nailed down anybody that you picture as your lead actors?
I mean, not 100%. I thought maybe that Georgina Campbell from Barbarian would be good. I mean, she's kind of like the right age.
Yeah.
But I'm whatever. I'm just that's the last one that kind of impressed me for that kind of like a horror film actress. But I haven't nailed it down 100%. I mean, I wouldn't have any say in that anyway. But I guess when you write a script or pitch it, usually they ask you, who do you have in mind for this? Just so they have an idea who you're thinking of.
Yeah. How old is that character supposed to be? In late 20s, early 30s, or?
Yeah, early 30s, I think. Early 30s. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my characters in this story are about 30, although like Lotho is older. He's in his like late 60s or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them around that age. Maybe Tycho, that guy's in his 40s, whatever, mid 40s.
Yeah.
But it depends. Yeah. And then so it's interesting. We'll see what happens. But have you got any thought of what you'll be working on next? Have you nailed it down at all?
I've been sort of toying with a zombie idea, but
right
now it's more less zombies and more, I don't know, it might be more closer to the Last of Us.
Oh yeah, kind of infected people kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw them as like something called I have been trying to figure out what they would be called, or something like shriekers or something like that. Maybe they're infected by this thing and it makes them like scream a lot or something, or maybe scream to call in other ones.
Right.
And I was thinking of like maybe a survivor group that's they'd be kind of like numbered, maybe. Like each one would be a certain number.
Like
and they'd have maybe a walled in part of a city they live in.
Oh yeah, walled in city.
And each of the group would, and it would like they'd like a part of a big city, they'd like build up a fortification around it, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe they'd like something like Dawn of the Dead. Maybe they'd have it lined with like buses and stuff, like armored. So like maybe creating like a wall around that thing with like a makeshift wall.
Right. Kind of almost like Road Warrior too, how they had that little fortress that they made with the buses.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. World War had that too. And but it was going to be just zombies, but then I thought maybe it'd be something else.
Yeah, I do like the fact that this. Yeah,
I think it's what's that?
I think it's a fungus in Last of Us, right? It's a kind of like a parasitic fungus.
Yeah.
That kind of like what really happens with fungus and ants. How it kind of zombifies them and makes it do its own, does its bidding.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be cool to check something. I mean, I think it's more, even it's like Matango, like the Attack of the Mushroom People, kind of has that feeling there, which I think is cool to have that as a kind of fungus is kind of like a, because there's such an alien thing, right? Fungus is like, it's not really an animal or plant. It's kind of its own. It's kind of like its own thing, so it's kind of creepy and alien.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like you could have a mold or a fungus.
Right. And they have spores and all these things. They reproduce in a weird way. And
yeah. So yeah, I got to decide if I want to rip off The Last of Us or
yeah, come up with maybe some twist on it, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'd be cool. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, I guess we're gonna end our podcast now anyway. So
about that
time. We had a better talk than I thought about. We talked a bit about my story a little bit, at least what I'm working on, and some movies we've seen.
Yeah, and a bunch of influences.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, well, I'll talk to you next week then.
Okay, cool.
Okay, see ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.